In an era where every thought, meal, and emotion seems to demand an audience, there exists a quiet group of individuals who choose silence over sharing. These are the people who don't post on social media, not because they are disconnected, but because they are deeply connected to something else, themselves, their privacy, and the authenticity of experience. To many, their absence from digital platforms might seem strange, even suspicious. Yet, from a philosophical and psychological perspective, this restraint reflects a profound understanding of identity, ego, and meaning in an age of performance. The psychology of those who abstain from posting is rooted in a rejection of external validation. Social media operates as a psychological feedback loop, where likes, comments, and followers act as digital currency for self-worth. The non-poster, however, refuses this transactional dynamic. Their sense of identity is internally anchored, not dependent on the dopamine rush of approval or the anxiety of comparison. By choosing not to participate in the public exhibition of the self, they preserve a purer form of self-awareness, one that is not distorted by the reflections of others. Furthermore, their silence is often an act of protection, both psychological and spiritual. The more one exposes themselves online, the more one's image becomes fragmented and open to interpretation, judgment, and misunderstanding. The person who refrains from posting recognizes the fragility of the authentic self when subjected to public gaze. They understand that not every moment must be documented to be meaningful, and not every experience must be shared to be real. Their life exists in the immediacy of living, not in the performance of appearing. From a psychological standpoint, this restraint also indicates emotional stability and self-sufficiency. Those who do not constantly seek to display their lives tend to possess stronger internal validation systems. They are comfortable in solitude and do not require a digital audience to confirm their existence or success. Their self-esteem is rooted in introspection and personal meaning, rather than external affirmation. In many cases, such individuals exhibit higher levels of mindfulness. They live more fully in the present because they are not preoccupied with how that present will appear online. Philosophically, their choice echoes the wisdom of thinkers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, who warned against the herd mentality and the dilution of individuality in mass culture. To abstain from constant self-disclosure is, in a way, an act of rebellion, a refusal to allow one's identity to be reduced to algorithms and approval metrics. These individuals embody a kind of digital stoicism. They detach from the noise, not out of ignorance, but out of clarity. They also tend to value depth over visibility. Their relationships, thoughts, and experiences are not filtered for public consumption, which makes them more genuine and intimate. Without the pressure to perform, they experience reality directly, not through the lens of presentation. For them, fulfillment is found not in being seen, but in being. And finally, their silence on social media is not absence. It is presence. It reflects a choice to live life privately, consciously, and authentically in a world where attention has become the new addiction. The non-poster is not disengaged from society. They are disengaged from illusion. They seek substance over spectacle, essence over image, and truth over popularity. Those who refrain from posting on social media often possess one defining trait that sets them apart from the vast majority. They derive their sense of self-worth from within, not from the shifting tides of external validation. In a world driven by the dopamine economy, where every like, share, and comment becomes a micro-dose of approval, to stand apart from that system is a rare psychological strength. It signals a deeper self-awareness and emotional maturity, an understanding that true value cannot be quantified in numbers or measured through screens. From a psychological standpoint, this independence of self-worth originates in the concept of internal locus of control. People with an internal locus believe that their lives are shaped primarily by their own thoughts, decisions, and actions, not by the opinions or judgments of others. For them, confidence does not come from being admired. It comes from being aligned with their own principles and values. In contrast, social media encourages an asterisk external locus asterisk, a dependence on how others perceive us. Each post becomes a subtle request. Asterisk, do I matter? Am I enough? Asterisk, the non-poster has learned to silence that question entirely, because their sense of worth does not hinge upon the gaze of others. Philosophically, this independence reflects a return to what Schopenhauer might call the inner wealth of the individual. The idea that fulfillment arises from one's inner life, not from social validation. The one who avoids constant posting is not deprived of recognition, they are liberated from it. They find meaning not in being seen, but in seeing the world, themselves, and others, without the distorting filter of self-presentation. Their life is not a performance, but an experience. They do not live for an audience, because they have learned that applause is a poor substitute for peace. This inner confidence also reflects emotional security. In psychological terms, those who seek constant online validation often display a compensatory behavior, a need to reaffirm their worth because it feels unstable. The one who does not need to post, however, does not require that reinforcement. They have made peace with the quiet truth that one's identity is not a brand, and one's feelings need not be broadcast to be real. Their validation system operates inwardly. They are both the giver and receiver of their own approval. This is not narcissism, it is self-possession. It is the freedom that comes from knowing who you are, even when no one is watching. In many ways, the decision to not post reflects courage. The courage to exist without applause, to feel without exhibition, and to grow without an audience. The modern world rewards visibility, yet these individuals choose integrity over image. They resist the urge to curate their existence for digital consumption, and in doing so, they remain authentic. Their silence is not absence, it is sovereignty. It is a quiet declaration that their worth does not depend on how many people see them, but on how deeply they see themselves. People who do not post on social media often display a remarkable level of self-awareness, a deep understanding of their own thoughts, emotions, and motivations. In a world where external noise constantly demands attention, the choice to stay quiet online reflects an inward turn, a movement toward introspection rather than exhibition. These individuals are not necessarily antisocial or detached. Rather, they have developed an acute sensitivity to the subtle ways in which social media distorts perception, identity, and self-worth. Their restraint is not rooted in indifference but in consciousness. Self-awareness means recognizing when one's actions are driven by genuine intention versus social pressure. Most people post because of an underlying desire to be noticed, to belong, to be admired, or to affirm a narrative about themselves. The self-aware person recognizes this pull and questions it. Asterisk, why do I want to share this? Asterisk, asterisk, is it for connection or is it for validation? Asterisk, through such questioning, they gain freedom from unconscious behavior. Their silence on social media is not avoidance, it's discipline. It's the act of stepping out of the psychological current that sweeps most people into cycles of comparison and validation seeking. Psychologically, this self-awareness aligns with mindfulness, a capacity to observe oneself without immediately reacting. Those who do not post often operate from a reflective mindset. They understand that every online act is also a form of self-presentation, shaping how others perceive them and how they, in turn, perceive themselves. By choosing not to engage in constant self-presentation, they protect their sense of authenticity. They refuse to let the algorithm decide their worth or their narrative. In doing so, they preserve an unfragmented sense of identity, one that is whole, private, and not mediated through a digital lens. Philosophically, this echoes the Socratic principle, asterisk, the unexamined life is not worth living. Asterisk, those who refrain from posting are often engaged in this examination, not as a public display, but as a private dialogue with themselves. Their energy is directed inward toward understanding, not outward toward impression. They don't need to prove their existence through visibility because they experience it fully through awareness. They are not trying to be seen. They are trying to see clearly. In a psychological sense, this clarity grants emotional resilience. The more one understands the mechanics of attention, ego, and validation, the less one is controlled by them. These individuals are not enslaved by the need for external recognition because they recognize its fleeting nature. They know that likes fade, trends shift, and attention evaporates, but self-knowledge endures. The person who knows themselves does not need to advertise themselves. Thus, their quietness becomes a form of strength. In a digital culture that rewards noise, they embody calm. In a world that prizes visibility, they find power in invisibility. Their self-awareness shields them from the emotional turbulence of the social sphere and roots them in a stable identity that no algorithm can manipulate. Their silence is not emptiness. It is clarity, focus, and peace. Another defining trait of people who do not post on social media is their deep appreciation for privacy, the sacred space where authenticity, thought, and emotion can exist unobserved. In an age where oversharing is normalized and where life is lived in public fragments, choosing privacy is not merely a personal preference. It's an act of rebellion. These individuals understand that constant exposure erodes depth, and that the more one shares, the more one becomes dependent on how others interpret that sharing. Their silence is not secrecy. It is the preservation of something precious, the right to exist without being constantly perceived. Psychologically, privacy allows the self to develop integrity. When people are always watched, they begin to shape their behavior in accordance with that gaze, a phenomenon known as the panopticon effect asterisk, first described by philosopher Jeremy Bentham and later expanded by Mitchell Foucault. The individual becomes both the performer and the spectator of their own life, losing spontaneity in the process. Those who refrain from posting reject this internal surveillance. They understand that constant self-presentation fragments the psyche. It divides the person into what they are and what they appear to be. By keeping parts of their life unshared, they protect their psychological wholeness. There's also a profound philosophical elegance to privacy. Schopenhauer believed that the truly wise man lives inwardly, away from the crowd's clamor, because peace and truth exist where noise does not. Similarly, those who don't post have chosen to inhabit their inner life instead of projecting it outward. They see that every public display invites judgment and misinterpretation, that every image becomes a mirror reflecting not the self, but society's expectations. In this sense, privacy becomes a shield against superficial validation, against misunderstanding, and against the erosion of one's essence. Privacy also nourishes intimacy. When not everything is shared, what asterisk is asterisk shared gains value. The non-poster often treasures real conversations, face-to-face exchanges, and moments of vulnerability that occur in trust, not on timelines. They find authenticity not in exposure but in connection, the kind that doesn't need witnesses to feel real. Their relationships are built on presence, not presentation. Their love, pain, and joy exist unmediated, untouched by filters and performance. In psychological terms, privacy fosters stability. A private mind has room to think freely, to process emotions without external influence, to make decisions without fear of public scrutiny. It allows people to be inconsistent, to grow, to fail, all without having to explain themselves. The non-poster retains the right to evolve quietly, to shed identities without needing to announce them. In a society addicted to self-disclosure, privacy becomes wisdom. It means valuing being over appearing, substance over spectacle. It is not isolation, it's integrity. Those who guard their inner world understand that not every truth must be performed, not every joy must be photographed, and not every pain must be shared. Their silence is their sanctuary, a place where the soul remains untouched by the noise of the world. People who don't post on social media often demonstrate a profound understanding of authenticity, the courage to be real without the need to display it. They recognize that the moment authenticity becomes performative, it ceases to be authentic. In a world obsessed with curating appearances, they understand that truth cannot survive constant exhibition. Their refusal to post is not an absence of expression. It is the rejection of distortion. They choose to live their truth quietly, rather than broadcast a version of it shaped by what others want to see. Psychologically, authenticity means alignment between one's inner reality and outward behavior. But social media, by its design, rewards the opposite: projection over presence, image over essence. Every post, no matter how genuine, is filtered through self-consciousness. We begin to think, how will this be perceived? Will this be liked? Does this represent me well? Such questions turn self-expression into self-promotion. The individual who abstains from posting sees through this illusion. They understand that constant sharing subtly conditions people to live for approval, not for truth. Their silence is a declaration that their life does not need an audience to be meaningful. Philosophically, this authenticity echoes the teachings of Kierkegaard, who warned against the crowd as the source of untruth. The crowd, he argued, dissolves individuality. It pressures the soul to conform to collective values rather than personal conviction. Similarly, the digital crowd shapes the modern self, pushing people towards certain aesthetics, opinions, and lifestyles for the sake of acceptance. The person who resists posting is resisting this conformity. They are, in essence, protecting the purity of their being from contamination by external expectation. Authenticity also means embracing imperfection. Those who post frequently often edit, filter, and adjust their lives to appear ideal. But those who don't post are free from that compulsion. They allow themselves to live unfiltered, to make mistakes, to be uncertain, to experience life without narrating it for others. Their lives may be unseen, but they are more felt. They do not need to prove happiness because they are too busy living it. There is also an ethical beauty to their authenticity. By refusing to participate in the endless cycle of self-advertisement, they do not contribute to the culture of comparison that fuels insecurity in others. Their restraint is, in a way, an act of compassion, a quiet resistance against the pressure that forces everyone to be constantly on. They demonstrate that it's possible to exist meaningfully without broadcasting proof of existence. In psychological balance, authenticity is freedom, the freedom to live as you are, not as you are perceived. The non-poster embodies this freedom by detaching their identity from digital feedback loops. Their truth is not contingent upon visibility. It resides in how they think, feel, and act when no one is watching. Their silence is not concealment. It's sincerity. It's the quiet power of being real in a world that constantly rewards illusion. Those who choose not to post on social media often display remarkable emotional independence, the ability to regulate their feelings without relying on external affirmation or social reinforcement. In a culture where emotions are frequently outsourced for validation through posts, comments, and reactions, these individuals cultivate a quieter, more internal emotional life. They do not need to translate their experiences into public performances in order to make them real. Their emotions belong to them, not to the crowd. Psychologically, emotional independence stems from what Carl Jung might call individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating one's inner world rather than seeking completion through others. Those who don't post live from this inner center. They do not seek validation through likes or sympathy through shares. Instead, they learn to sit with their emotions, to understand them, and to let them evolve naturally without the mediation of an audience. They know that sadness need not be witnessed to be healed, and that joy need not be displayed to be genuine. This independence reflects emotional maturity. The more a person depends on social feedback, the more fragile their emotional state becomes. Every comment, every reaction, becomes a small vote of approval or rejection, subtly dictating how one feels about oneself. The emotionally independent individual has broken free from that cycle. They have developed internal mechanisms, reflection, mindfulness, solitude that stabilize their inner life. They draw strength not from attention, but from awareness. They are not untouched by others' opinions, but they are ungoverned by them. Philosophically, this is the essence of Stoicism: mastery over one's internal state amidst the chaos of the external world. As Epictetus wrote, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The non-poster embodies this wisdom. They recognize that emotional balance cannot exist when one's peace is dependent on public validation. To them, the truest power is self-possession, to feel deeply yet remain centered, to express without exhibition, to experience without dependence. Their restraint also protects them from emotional fragmentation. Constant posting turns one's emotional life into fragments curated for attention, a tragedy disguised as self-expression. But those who keep their emotions private preserve their wholeness. They experience emotions fully, not as performances but as realities. Their sadness, joy, and wonder remain intact because they are not diluted by the need for display. This emotional autonomy gives rise to quiet confidence. People who are emotionally independent are less reactive, less envious, and less easily manipulated by trends or opinions. They can find meaning in solitude, contentment in simplicity, and resilience in adversity. They live from the inside out, not the outside in. In a world that constantly urges us to share, to display, to react, emotional independence becomes an act of rebellion and of peace. Those who master it do not need to shout their emotions to feel alive. Their calm is not emptiness, it is power. Their silence is not withdrawal, it is self-calm, and the kind of strength that can only come from within. People who refrain from posting on social media often possess a rare and profound sense of contentment, the ability to find satisfaction in being rather than in being seen. In a digital culture that thrives on constant self-promotion and endless striving for attention, their silence reveals something extraordinary. They do not need external acknowledgement to feel fulfilled. Their happiness does not depend on visibility, applause, or digital approval. It flows from within, from the simple joy of existing authentically, without performance or pretense. Psychologically, this contentment reflects a stable and integrated sense of self. Most people today experience what psychologists call contingent self-esteem, a fragile form of self-worth that rises and falls depending on how others respond. Every post, every like, every comment becomes a tiny measurement of one's value. But those who don't post have detached from that dependence. They have developed non-contingent self-worth meaning their sense of value is rooted in self-acceptance rather than social comparison. They are at peace with who they are, regardless of whether anyone else affirms it. Their contentment also arises from presence. Social media pulls attention outward toward appearances, trends, and comparisons. It constantly whispers that happiness lies elsewhere, in what others have, in what others do, in what others think. The person who abstains from posting has resisted that illusion. They are more present in their own reality, the texture of their moments, the depth of their relationships, the stillness of their thoughts. They have discovered that life feels richer when it's experienced rather than displayed. Their joy is quieter but deeper, unmeasured by metrics and untouched by algorithms. Philosophically, their mindset echoes the wisdom of Epicurus, who taught that true happiness is not found in excess or recognition, but in tranquility and self-sufficiency. Those who are content without posting embody this principle. They do not chase admiration because they understand that the pursuit of approval is endless, a hunger that can never be fully satisfied. Instead, they cultivate gratitude for the small, private moments that make life meaningful. A walk in silence, a conversation with a friend, a thought that no one else hears. This kind of contentment is not apathy, it's mastery. It is the freedom that comes from no longer needing to prove or display one's life to feel worthy. Their satisfaction is internal, so it remains stable amidst external fluctuations. They are not elated by likes, nor diminished by their absence. In this way, they have achieved what many seek through endless self-promotion, peace of mind. Ultimately, those who don't post have found that the truest happiness is invisible. It doesn't need to be broadcast to be real. They've learned that fulfillment doesn't come from showing the world how good life looks, but from knowing, quietly, how good it feels. Their stillness is not withdrawal from life. It's immersion in it, a deep, steady joy untouched by the need to be seen. Those who don't post on social media often embody one of the most powerful psychological and philosophical traits of all: self-control. In an era defined by impulse, oversharing, and the addiction to instant gratification, restraint has become a revolutionary act. Every day, millions give away fragments of their privacy, their focus, and even their peace of mind for the fleeting pleasure of attention. But those who resist that pull demonstrate mastery over the very forces that control most people. Their silence is not emptiness, it's discipline. Psychologically, self-control represents a mature ability to regulate impulses and delay gratification. Social media thrives on immediacy. The moment you feel joy, you're tempted to share it. The instant you feel anger, you want to post about it. The algorithms are designed to exploit this reflex. Yet, the non-poster sees through this manipulation. They recognize how easy it is to become a puppet of emotion, reacting instead of reflecting. By not posting, they assert sovereignty over their attention and emotions. They decide when, how, and whether to express themselves, not the platform. This restraint also reflects emotional intelligence. Those who can hold back the impulse to post are often more self-aware of their motives. They understand that not every thought needs expression, not every feeling needs validation, and not every experience needs to be shared. Their self-control protects their inner life from being diluted by public exposure. They live deliberately, not reactively, and that deliberation cultivates wisdom. Philosophically, this mastery over impulse aligns with the teachings of ancient Stoicism and even Buddhism. Both traditions teach that true freedom is not found in indulging every desire, but in mastering it. The Stoic sage and the mindful monk alike know that he who cannot govern his impulses is enslaved by them. The person who refrains from posting embodies this timeless truth. They are not controlled by the compulsion to be seen. They control the urge to seek it. Their quietness is a form of strength, the kind that cannot be measured in followers or likes, but in self-possession and clarity of mind. Self-control also gives them something most people unknowingly sacrifice: peace. Constant posting keeps the mind in a state of vigilance, checking notifications, anticipating responses, and worrying about perception. But those who practice restraint reclaim their attention. Their mental space is not cluttered with digital noise, but filled with calm observation and thought. They can engage with the world without needing to perform for it. Their self-control grants them focus, the ability to direct their energy toward what truly matters. Ultimately, their silence becomes symbolic. It says, "I am not at the mercy of my impulses. I choose when to speak, and I choose when to be still." In a culture addicted to noise, that kind of discipline is radical. Their refusal to overshare is not a lack of engagement. It's the highest form of self-mastery. They have learned the timeless truth. Power is not in expression, but in control, not in being loud, but in knowing when to be silent.